Hello, all you wonderful people. Today, I want to show you something. No, not that Mini-Mart store, the building behind it. It's hidden from view, but it's known as the Institute of Future Technology. But you probably know it better as the Back to the Future ride. Technically, it's getting erased from existence as it's closing on May 31st of this month. But to tell this story, we have to go back to the past. First, hi, my name's Scott. Great, now we know one another. Back to the Future was released to the world in 1985, featuring Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly, Tom Wilson as Biff Tannen, and the incredible Christopher Lloyd as Dr. Emmett Brown. Long story short, Doc builds a time machine, Marty accidentally goes back in time 30 years and runs into his parents. The story is simple, but genius, and it may be a contender for the title of a perfect movie. It was popular enough to have 2 more sequels and a cartoon. The movie is a great what-if story with memorable characters, amazing dialogue, and an interesting plot device involving a time-traveling car. I was born in Florida and practically in the Orlando parks every week, but my favorite was and still is Universal Studios Florida. At the park, they had a number of attractions, like the Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera, Confrontation, Earthquake, Ghostbusters, Jaws, and a little ride called Back to the Future. I remember being a young kid riding it for my first time, and I was absolutely blown away. I couldn't believe that there was a ride based on a movie that I really enjoyed. The story is pretty simple. Doc is showing off his tech when Biff breaks in and traps Doc in his office. To avoid altering the course of time, Doc sends you in a prototype DeLorean to stop Biff in order to bump him at 88 miles an hour. It was a simulator ride, and a simple simulator ride at that. You actually felt like you were riding the movies. The excellence of this ride, combined with the great storytelling in the movies, caused me to love this series growing up. And since Nickelodeon Studios was located in Universal Studios Florida, Doc would sometimes make appearances on there too. Does anyone remember when Doc stopped the closing of the Nick time capsule because he just came from the future and the kids didn't have GAC? Well, thanks to him, the children of the future shall not be devoid of GAC. As time wore on in Florida and California, the parks started to struggle with modernity, keeping the public interested in returning to their parks with the newest rides and attractions. In 2007, the time had come for Doc and his time machine to rove the time circuits of our memories, and was replaced by the Simpsons ride. There's a great cameo of Doc Brown in the pre-show of the Simpsons ride trying to stop Krusty from taking over his institute. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and now Doc opens doors for Krusty. And other than memories and the ride experience on the Back to the Future DVD, which doesn't hold a candle to the original ride, this brings us to the present. For the last year, I've lived in Osaka, Japan. But if I ever get homesick, I can travel about 30 minutes away by train and go to what the locals call USJ, or Universal Studios Japan. Now we're back to where we started, in the front of the Mini-Mart, which one would assume was the Back to the Future store, but those days are gone. It's easy to miss the ride because you actually have to walk behind the building to find the line. And once you get there, you are treated to the DeLorean and a queue for the line. It reeks of 90s and nostalgia. You are entertained by music from Huey Lewis and the News, ZZ Top, and Chuck Berry. And sometimes the TV shows snippets of story, showing Doc with famous people in the past, driving around in the future, and explaining how easy it is to mess up time. All in Japanese, of course. The whole building makes me feel like a young kid again. You have the pre-show where Doc gets stuck in his office and Biff escapes. And then there's the ride itself, where you are lifted slightly into the giant dome screened room, with real film going through projectors, flickering light causing the illusion that is film to appear as your car shakes accordingly. Even though the ride is dated, and Marty McFly was supposed to arrive in Hill Valley to find finding cars, it's still a lot of fun. And then the ride ends, and you walk out into the present, knowing this ride is on its last legs. After riding the ride, I looked in every store to try to find Back to the Future merchandise. It was next to impossible, but then I found a tiny section that had an RC car, Legos, and what looked like a crystal. And that was it. I went back to see if there was anything in the Mini-Mart that had to do with Back to the Future, but alas, there was nothing. And if you can read between the lines, you can see what the replacement would be. Modernity. One must always be relevant. Back to the Future will just be a blip of a memory in this park. Its technology can't even compare to Spider-Man's or the new Harry Potter ride. It'll just be forgotten, erased from existence. But then I saw one person that made me change my mind. A cosplayer dressed up like Marty McFly to see Doc Brown. She was legitimately excited and obviously a fan of the movie. This got me thinking. It's not just that there's no way to experience the ride. It's the memory of the good feeling you get while watching the films. For remembering the great characters. To see good triumph over evil. And obviously there's still a lot of passionate people that will still cherish the memory of this franchise. I tell my students that the future might not have flying cars or real hoverboards, but you are the future. Your future is whatever you make it. You might as well make it a good one. And to that, I say sayonara to the Back to the Future ride. I'll always remember the ride as a great ride with good memories, and at least I'll have the movies. As I always say, you can do it, I can do it, we can all do it. Stay groovy and have a great day. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little video. I actually make videos out here in Japan a lot. Actually, just went to Disney Sea, and if you want to see that, you can click right up here and see Disney Sea. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay groovy. You can do it. I can do it. We can all do it. Goodbye. I'm walking away from the camera. This is where I'm going.